Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. So I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. I think proactively recognizing a Palestinian state would essentially be rewarding an act of terror.
I mean, are we at all surprised that those sociopathic comments are coming out of the mouth of Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, of course, who was at Harvard engaging in conversation about the ongoing war in Gaza, and more importantly, what should happen to Gaza following this brutal war that's been carried out by the Israeli government and the IDF. Now, throughout the interview, he conflated terrorists with Palestinian civilians. Favorite tactic that I've noticed on social media among those who want to provide cover for anything that Israel does. And he clearly supports the idea of pushing Palestinians out of Gaza, which can be described as ethnic cleansing, if I'm not mistaken, Cenk.
Yeah, that's actually the very definition of ethnic cleansing. And well, he put a cherry on top so we could steal their land. Oh, okay, well, thank you for clarifying.
So with that said, why don't we go to our first video and we'll dig right in.
It's unfortunate that nobody's taking the refugees.
But also there are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never gonna let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So, if you think about even the construct, Gaza was not really a historical precedent, right? It was the result of a war. Right, you had tribes that were in different places, but then Gaza became a thing. Egypt, used to run it, and then, over time, you had different governments that came in different ways. So you have another war. Usually when wars happen, borders are changed historically over time.
Borders are changed historically over time. That was his statement after being asked about Netanyahu not wanting Palestinians to return to Gaza should they be permanently or ethnically cleansed from the Gaza Strip into other neighboring countries, including Egypt. I mean, he just set the stage right there. He just justified. Well, I mean, historically speaking, borders change, wars happen and borders change. So he's basically conceding that this is what the future of Gaza is going to be for the Palestinian people, meaning no Palestinian people.
Yeah, so he clarified in the interview that they should either push him into the Negev desert, which is in Israel, but they say this is just a desert, so we'll just clean it up a little bit and shove them in there and put them in a camp or a ghetto. He didn't use those words, but those are perfect words to describe what he's saying. He said, or we just push them into Egypt and borders change. And then once they're in the Sinai desert, either way, stuff them into a desert and just take their land, take Gaza. It's beautiful waterfront property. We can make a lot of money off of it. Me and all my rich friends, they're not, again, I try so hard to clarify, not everybody in Israel is going to profit from Jared Kushner's plans, okay? There's a wealthy few that would love to take the oil off the coast of Gaza, and they've already started those plans in Israel, and would love to steal the Palestinian land for themselves, and they're not gonna share it with the rest of the Israeli people.
No,
they're not gonna share it with Jews across the world. There's plenty of poor Jews, a lot of middle-class Jews in Israel and all across the world. They're not gonna get any of this.
Let me get this out of the way. This is really important, okay? So polling indicates that 56% of Israelis are not in favor of pushing Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip.
Yes, okay, but there are a few rich people like Jared Kushner who say, yeah, by the way, like in America, like in a lot of places, and it divorced from ethnicity or national background, who say, well, I want the money, and abusing the average citizen so that I can make billions more is so normal to them. They're like, so why don't we take 2 million people and just displace them completely, ethnically cleanse them, throw in a genocide, and then steal their property, and then set up beautiful waterfront properties where I can get more rich. Jared Kushner is one of the most disgusting, vile human beings on planet Earth. And by the way, some Democrats, do you have a pulse? This guy took $2 billion from the Saudis right after he did a deal with the Saudis when he was inside the government.
You think Democrats don't agree with him on this? You think Democrats don't agree with him on this?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Look, listen. If you're having difficulty understanding this concept of moneyed interest, taking advantage of a disaster in order to accumulate more capital, There's a whole book written about it by Naomi Klein called Shock Doctrine. Read it, because it'll show you exactly how these types of wars tend to play out. So yes, of course there are moneyed interests eyeing the Gaza Strip, eyeing that property and thinking to themselves, hey, we could build a nice resort. We could build some housing for the rich and the wealthy. Why not? And aside from that, you also have a group of far-right radicals in Israel, some of whom are in the government, also eyeing the Gaza Strip as important land that they can use to build more illegal settlements and profit from. So we're gonna get to that in just a moment, but I wanna get to some more of the statements made by Jared Kushner during this interview with Harvard. So he also basically has a specific place in mind for Palestinians to go to. It's what you had alluded to earlier, Cenk. So this is the kind of thought process Jared Kushner has when it comes to the lives of literally millions of people. Let's watch.
The thing that I would try to do if I was Israel right now is I would just bulldoze something in the Negev. I would try to move people in there. I know that won't be the popular thing to do, but I think that that's a better option to do so that you can go in and finish the job. I think there was one decision point they had. Do we go into Gaza? Do we not go into Gaza? They had the hostages. There really was, I think, no choice but to do that. I think that they were smart to go slowly and deliberately. Gaza's booby-trapped like crazy. They have over 400 miles of underground tunnels. And so I think that they've taken some of the right steps in order to go there. But you have to, again, I think Israel's gone way more out of their way than a lot of other countries would to try to protect civilians from casualties. But I do think right now opening up the Negev, creating a secure area there, moving the civilians out, and then going in and finishing the job would be the right move.
Listen, so many journalists in Gaza have been slaughtered that the reports have slowed down considerably from the Gaza Strip. Israel isn't allowing journalists to access the Gaza Strip to do reporting on the ground. There are rare occasions where they do. CNN's a good example of some of the good reporting they've done on the ground in the Gaza Strip. But I give you that preface to make the real statement I want to make here, okay? As far as we know so far, 31,000 people have been slaughtered in Gaza. The IDF has claimed that of those 31,000 people, somewhere around 10 to 12,000 are Hamas militants. So you do the math. Obviously, there have been far more civilian casualties than Hamas militants who have died as a result of Israel's assault on Gaza. And keep in mind, the death toll does not take into account the number of bodies that are still under the rubble, meaning that the civilian death toll is likely much higher. But Cenk, Jared Kushner tells us that the IDF is really taking some extreme measures to keep civilian life safe in the Gaza Strip, like telling them to evacuate to the south and then bombing the south after they tell them that they'll be safe there. That's the kind of extreme measures the IDF takes to ensure Palestinian lives are kept safe.
Yeah, so unfortunately a lot of people are so biased, so blinded by their bias that they can't see straight. So they think that they genuinely believe, it's not just Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is a special kind of evil that I'm gonna get back to. But there's tons of people who believe Israel does the most to protect civilians. That is the exact opposite of the truth. There is no government that cares less about killing civilians, as long as they're not Israeli civilians. So the North Korean government might care less about its own citizens. That's definitely fair. Bashar al-Assad might care less about his own citizens. That's definitely fair. But in terms of other people's citizens, no one cares less than Israel. In fact, I can prove that to you. 12,000 kids killed. This is verified by every news organization. That is more children killed than all of the conflicts in the world combined for the last 4 years. If you somehow in an upside down world believe that killing more innocent children in one 5-month conflict than all the conflicts in the world combined for the last 4 years is being the most careful at not killing civilians, you've lost your mind. You're detached from reality and you will believe any propaganda that Israel feeds you because you want to believe it. Oh yeah, killing at minimum 21,000 women and children. Killing 1,200 Israelis, civilians and soldiers, the worst thing in the world, near Holocaust level, 1,200, 1,200. Killing 21,000 innocent women and children, irrelevant. You don't see it? You can't see that you sound monstrous when you say that? Monstrous. And then what is the IDF standards for what they claim is 10 to 12,000 Hamas fighters? They literally count every male in Gaza as a terrorist.
Yep.
Oh, come on. You can't see that that's insanity? And let alone the offensive part. Who cares? They're actually killing them. There's 576, now 1.1 million people starving to death. Starving to death. And Jared Kushner's like, yes, but what do the waterfront properties look like? And you see how callous he is? You see what he said twice?
Sociopath.
Well done. He said, finish the job. Let's finish the job. Let's push them out of Gaza, take their land and finish the job. Well, Jared, that sounds like it has some finality to it. It sounds like that might be a solution that's final. Congratulations, Jared Kushner. So now you're talking about, let's finish them and take their goddamn land and then profit off of it. What do you sound like? You sound like a caricature, and you're doing great damage to Israel, to Jews across the world, etc. as you sit there going, let's kill them, drive them into the desert and steal their land. Jesus Christ, stop. Stop, you're not just hurting Palestinians, you're hurting Jews and Israelis, because not everyone in Israel is like this monster of a human being. Monster.
Again, 56% of Israelis do not want to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. They don't want to push them out of the Gaza Strip into Egypt or another region of Israel. They're against it. And so, look, I give you that because typically, and we've experienced it throughout our coverage of this war, if you dare speak out against the decision makers in Israel, the government of Israel, you're automatically labeled anti-Semitic. This commentary has nothing to do with the Israeli people. It has nothing to do with Jewish people. It has everything to do with power players. And if you're gonna tell me that the real victims here are the far right members of Israel's far right government, which of course, they're all backed by the most powerful country in the world with the most powerful military in the world, the United States. If you're gonna tell me that they're the victims and I can't speak out against them because poor, powerful Israeli politicians, I'm not gonna buy it and I'm not gonna be intimidated by that, period. I wanna go to the last video, Cenk. So let's go to the last video where you're gonna hear Kushner talk about the property in more context. Let's watch.
How do we deal with the terror threat that is there, so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. I mean, Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
Move the people out and clean it up. Okay, we'll get to that last part in just a second, but I just want to decode what he said earlier before he got to that last part. What he's essentially saying in regard to all that money wasted in the tunnel network and all of that, he's referring to Hamas allegedly taking the humanitarian aid that's been given to Palestinians and using that money to build the tunnel network instead of building up the Gaza Strip, instead of building up properties that the Palestinians would be able to enjoy as better places to live. But what he's trying to say there is that money was wasted. So let's just stop with that already. Okay, let's stop wasting that money on this BS dream of building a Palestinian state in the Gaza Strip. Let's get rid of that, because that's valuable property, potentially valuable real estate, Cenk.
Yeah. So look, to all the anti-Semites out there, you live in an alternate reality. So who did Jared Kushner do his top deal with? The Saudis, who are fundamentalist Muslim. Do the Saudis have the best interest of the Palestinians at heart? Absolutely not. Again, it depends on which Saudis you're talking about. The people of Saudi Arabia, yes, I'm sure their hearts are with the Palestinians. The leadership of Saudi Arabia are criminals just like Jared Kushner. And so they love to do criminal deals where they rob their own citizens and everybody else's citizens, and then have a good laugh over it and dismember some people along the way, which is what, by the way, Jared Kushner, Mohammed bin Salman, the butcher of Riyadh, are excellent friends. That's who Jared Kushner made a deal with. That's why he got the $2 billion after his time in the administration was over. So this whole idea of making it about religion is totally, utterly incorrect. It is logically wrong, it is factually wrong. Now, to the right-wing demagogues that are Israeli supporters, you calling everything anti-Semitic is totally old and boring and stupid, and it doesn't work.
No one's falling for it.
At this point, on college campuses, I'm hearing that if you get called anti-Semitic, it's a badge of honor. Okay, that means you're fighting hard for Palestinian lives and trying to save people, because you can't tell anymore. They were real anti-Semites, and we call them out on the show all the time. And then there's like the best people, so it's the worst people on earth. And then you have the best people on earth who say, can we please save the lives of children and women and men and innocent people in Gaza? Anti-Semite, how dare you criticize Israel? Let's smear them, cancel them. By the way, what happened, right wingers? I thought you were against cancel culture. When it comes to Israel, you'll get canceled so quick, right? Oh, anti-Semite, anti-Semite. Now, look, in the next story, we're gonna tell you about 200 people in Hollywood who are now saying, how dare a Jewish person speak out on behalf of innocent Palestinians? What are you guys doing? Are you insane?
Yes.
So no, I don't care how much you scream anti-Semite into the void. It doesn't work anymore, because you guys, you're the boy who cried wolf. You're like, saying that a guy who just said that we'd like to steal their land, push them into the desert, kill them more, and profit off of it, accurately quoting him is anti-Semitic. No, brother, his plans are in a sense anti-Semitic, okay? Me pointing it out isn't the problem. The plans are the problem. And if you think, but my feelings are slightly hurt. Well, that kid who was murdered in Gaza by an Israeli bomb, and bombs murder people. If you can't get that through your thick head, what's the big deal? We're not terrorists, we're not terrorists. We just drop a bomb on them and grandmothers just explode. Their heads explode, their bodies explode. Hey, there's a baby in that building. Explode. What? I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist. Oh my God, a guy with no power did it. Terrorist. No, it's old, it's stupid. No one believes it anymore. So you can scream it into the void, you could do anything you like, but we're gonna call it out. Jared Kushner is a monster. Anyone who supports pushing the Palestinians out of Gaza Strip is a monster. Now talking about stealing their land and profiting off of it. I can't imagine anything more monstrous other than when he says, let's finish them.
And finally, I just wanted to draw attention to reporting that shows that there is a very loud minority within Israel that is demanding that Israelis have the right to return to the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
Remember, they were evacuated from the Gaza Strip when Israel decided to basically pull out, completely withdraw Israelis from the Gaza Strip. And so the New York Times in February of this year published a piece titled, "Israeli Settlers Left Gaza in 2005. They now see a chance to return. The United States and many other nations are pushing Israel to hand Gaza back to Palestinian leadership." I wouldn't put a lot of weight behind the US pushing Israel to do anything.
We're not gonna push them in on anything.
Israel will be able to do whatever it wants, and our government will bow its head and say, yes, sir, may we have another. That's just the reality of the situation. And it's simple to know why. We've talked about it on this show quite a bit. One of the most powerful lobbying groups in the country is AIPAC. All of our politicians, crap their pants is merely thinking about AIPAC and what AIPAC could do to their careers. So that's really what's going on here. So the US government, especially under the leadership of Joe Biden, as he's proven time and time again, will allow Israel to do whatever it wants. But let me get back to the piece here. So they write that a small group of Israelis is pushing for Israel to retain control of the territory and reestablish the Jewish settlements that were dismantled in Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza. In the absence of a government plan for after the war, talk of settlement is filling the vacuum and alarming Israel's allies. I think their plan is pretty clear. I mean, how many times do literal members of Israel's government need to say it for reporters to finally accept that what they're saying is what they want and what they're gonna do? One reserve soldier whose family was evicted from Gaza in 2005 told the Times, quote, "The minute the war is over, we'll build our homes there. The question isn't whether we will return when the fighting is over, but if there will be a Gaza." So there you have Yair Cohen, a reserve soldier, saying it. A Hebrew University poll, as I referenced earlier in December, found that 56% of Israelis oppose resettling Gaza. But a vocal minority is trying to build momentum behind their project, and they are supported by a third of the lawmakers in Israel's far-right governing coalition, meaning a third of the government supports this idea. Again, how many times do they need to tell American reporters what they intend to do before American reporters finally believe them. Finally, at a settler conference in Jerusalem, which was attended by 3,500 people, including some far-right ministers, one group held up signs reading, "Only transfer will bring peace," meaning transferring Palestinians out of their own land. As he addressed the meeting, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israel's far-right national security minister, saw the posters and told the group, quote, "You are right. Then, of the Palestinians living in Gaza," he added, "they should go away from here."
He's been in favor of ethnic cleansing from day one. He hasn't hit it at all. He believes in pushing them all out of Gaza and 100% stealing their land. If you think that it's not an occupation and it's not their land and Gaza's not a thing, as Jared Kushner said, you're 100% in favor of ethnic cleansing and genocide. Don't pretend you're not. And besides which, you can pretend all day long inside your own house and inside your own bubble. But the rest of the world knows that stealing the land, ethnic cleansing, genocide. And so to the people of Israel, I ask you, is that what you want to be known for? Or have you lost your minds? You want to be a safe haven for Jews because Jews were oppressed throughout history. But if you say to the Palestinians, we're going to steal your land, we're going to shove you into the desert, we're going to kill your women and children, we're going to set up camps for you, and we're going to put you in ghettos and camps, but don't ever fight back. Don't ever fight back. Bow your heads, and if you ever fight back, we're just going to call you a terrorist and murder you more and build even bigger camps and stuff you into more ghettos. Is that the Israel you're proud of? Is that why you formed Israel in the first place? No, it's the exact opposite reason why you formed Israel. Exact opposite. But people have lost their minds now. Now Ben Shapiro is saying here in America, how dare Joe Biden complain as he's handing over the check to Israel? As he's handing over a $14 billion check, he has no right to complain about what Israel's doing.
Yeah, that's our money.
No, Ben, you're not getting it.
That's our money.
So I asked the people of Israel to save Israel, let alone the Palestinians. But to the people of America, that's our money. They take it out of our checks every day. You go into work, a piece of that is going to go to Netanyahu and his far-right government to kill more Palestinians. And now they want to send 14 billion more. And Ben Shapiro says, not only will you give me your money, you'll shut up while you're doing it. No, Ben, the anti-Semitic tropes are not true. You don't control this country. You don't control the world. No, that's nonsense. It's not true. So I'm here to tell you, you can F off. You don't control a goddamn thing, and I'll criticize Israel as much as I like. It's not my country. My country is America, and that's our money. Our money. You don't get to say, you owe me the money. You give it to me, and you're not allowed to complain. No, no, no. The anti-Semitic tropes are not right. You don't control the world, and hell no. And anybody who signs off, and Anna's right, it's not just Republicans. It's also the great majority of the Democratic Party. Anyone who signs that bill to send $14 billion extra for genocide and ethnic cleansing to Israel, it's a mark of shame on them, and immorality they will never recover from.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.